Hi, this is Becky Schultz with Equipment Today, and joining me today is Maria Khokhlova. She is one of the co-founders and chief product officer at TraceAir. Hi, Maria. Thank you for joining us. I would really love to learn more about your background and how you came with your co-founders to develop TraceAir and what that's all about. Can you share a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. More than happy. Well, my background is pretty weird relative to what I'm doing now, because initially I worked as a physicist. So I worked in the Moscow State University in Russia. I worked in laser physics field in particular, and I got my PhD in that field. And that was pretty awesome times back then. I really liked it. But then at some point, I figured that I wanted some sort of transition to a more dynamic field, which apparently ended up being IT. So it wasn't construction in any sense in the very beginning. I had a company of my own, which was basically producing some custom software development for different clients, starting from scientific labs and up to different portals and websites and things like that. But at some point, my co-founders and the CEO of our company, Dmitry, he was looking for some edge between IT and different applications that will be handy for drones. And it was back in 2015 when drones started to emerge and it was a big boom. So he was just starting to look around and see where is this biggest impact. He figured that, well, construction is an amazing thing where this impact can become really fast and very significant. At some point, I figured that, well, there's some really cool things going on here, and I just really want to join the team and to join this activity. And so this is how we founded TraceAir. We also have a pretty specific setup here because we have 4 founders in TraceAir. It's not a usual setup. Well, the business is pretty complex, right? We have a lot of technology. At the same time, business-wise, it's pretty challenging because everyone knows construction is a complicated industry, pretty slow in adopting technologies, right? It's sometimes pretty hard to dig to the roots of the initial problem because the majority of users just don't know that they are living in a problem, right? It's hard for them to even verbalize the problem.
Sure.
So yeah, we have 4 founders in the company and I'm a head of product, chief product officer in the team. So and it's been already almost 6 years since we founded TraceAir. I'm really enjoying the journey.
Well, that's great. It sounds like it's been kind of an interesting journey for you. So tell me about TraceAir. Can you give us some background about what the company does and the types of services it does offer to the construction industry?
TraceAir, in short, I would describe it as like digital assistant for field construction people who are actually on the job site, building and making decisions every day. This is the solution that guides them on daily basis, step by step, how to reach their ultimate designs or targets, and helps them to prevent delays and reworks on the projects. The problem in the industry is obvious, right? Like the majority of the projects are running behind the budgets, over schedule all the time. And we believe that the root cause here is that if you look at the project team, construction project team, it looks like it's only 10% of this project team that is more or less equipped by data or tools to make data-based decisions, right? So they can know that they're making this decision for sure and it's correct, right? The rest, 90%, they're kind of like, they are those people who are on the job site, who are making decisions every day, right? But they have to kind of rely on their experience or just guess, make some bets. And even if they are super experienced, they will make some mistakes for sure. They're human, right? And they do not possess all the information in the world. They're not perfectly aligned with the rest of the team. So this all leads to delays and suboptimal decisions, and of course, rework because of that. And so that's why we've built this solution. TraceAir is the solution for this 90% of the project team. So you would imagine that it's like the least tech-savvy people, or at least they could be tech-savvy, but they have very, very limited credit of attention to kind of grasp the new technology, right? And so they are on the go. They need to move fast and make a lot of decisions. So we've created this SaaS platform, software platform, which is super easy to use. It was designed for this 90% of users to guide them step by step what to do next and help them make those decisions in the construction process. And right now we are obviously focused in residential construction mainly, and mainly in the site work phase of it. which is grading, utilities, pavement, everything that can be captured really quickly with drones, right? Create the digital copy of the project and then put this copy into, a cell phone, a tablet, or whatever device is there on the, on the job site, and give those people who are building tools and insights and guidance what to do next to achieve the design faster.
Okay. And when you say residential construction, is that primarily single family construction, or are you talking about developments that are building multiple structures or multifamily, so that we have clarity on what that all entails?
The focus would be on largest home builders, Lennar, D.R. Horton, like the top 20 home builders in the area, in the US, who would have their own land development department, and land developers who would develop the land and then sell lots to home builders. And within this segment, of course, the majority of our clients would be those who are building either, single family communities or detached multifamily communities, things like that. So we do not target skyscrapers for obvious reasons, right? But the majority of our clients are, the single family.
Can you walk me through, if I'm on a job site, how would I use TraceAir? How would that be applied from a practical standpoint?
Let's imagine you are the land development manager from the home builder, right? So you are responsible to oversee 6 or 7, sometimes could be 15 projects at a time. They can be spread all over the place. It could be like a 2-hour commute each way to get to each project, right? But you are responsible for everything that is going on during the site work. So you are overseeing the grading contractors, utility contractors, pavement contractors, everyone who is doing the preparation. Well, the typical use case would be that you, as a land development manager, start your perfect day at 6 a.m. on one of the job sites. But now it's not a stressful thing where you kind of think, oh my God, I have to not forget about this, and that. And I have to explain thousands of my contractors how to do this or that. But no stress, you open up TraceAir on your cell phone and you get the answers in numbers, in visuals, in very easy way, all the questions that you may come up with. For example, what's the status on grading, right? So how much dirt was moved over the last week by the grading contractors, right? So you just make several clicks and get the number. And it's the objective number, not something that you just have to rely on with no objective proof, right? So because this is a measurable thing. So you are prepared for checking the status. You are prepared to get the answers. Okay, but how much work is left? I have my schedule, but am I beating my schedule or am I behind? You actually get this number in 1 second. You don't have to wait for your grading contractor to come in and report you on that. You have your own number. And then negotiate with contractor how you can do that differently or, in a better way. The other thing is that you, as a land development manager, again, right, you are on the construction meeting. You have all your vendors, all your contractors sitting in the trailer and discussing the schedule, the project, and the status. And a lot of questions come up like, okay, what's the sequence? What's better to invite the grading contractors first and then, invite the other contractors next day? And usually it's a lot of back and forth, a lot of questions unanswered, and people take some time off to come back with the answers, right? But right now, if you turn on TraceAir on a screen in the trailer, everyone is looking on the same picture, which is measurable. You can get those answers and agree on specific schedule and agree on the next steps with all the grading contractors, in a couple of minutes. So a lot of disputes go away. The same stands for billing, right? You get your bill from contractors and you can easily verify whether or not it's true. And there's some sort of radical transparency within the project when grading contractors, if the tool is being shared with the grading contractors, right? They can definitely track their own progress, measure, and bill according to this tool, right? So that they are always sure that they will be paid faster because the owner would be able to verify those numbers just with a couple of clicks. He won't question the bill that you are providing. So that would be typical use cases. And my favorite ones, which are always in place, are coming from grading contractors, specifically from foremen and superintendents, like the people who you would not expect to use any type of software, right? But the majority of our users from grading contractors are those field personnel, like foremen and superintendents. They are daily users, not even weekly. They open TraceAir on everyday basis to plan their everyday job. How much cut or fill is left? What's the most optimal way to move this dirt from here to here? What's the best sequence? Okay, what's the cross section right here? How should I explain my junior foreman how to do that properly? Now I can show it easily with this tool on my cell phone, not explain with my body language, right? That would be the typical use cases of the product.
Okay. Well, we have talked, you've mentioned several times grading contractors, and I understand that there is a new platform feature that TraceAir is going to be introducing, or it's in development currently. Can you talk about that? I understand it's called GradeIt. Can you share a little bit about that?
It is right now in the testing phase. We are testing it out with our partners, grading contractors. We call it GradeIt because, in the end of the day, what grading contractors want owners want is just to grade it, right? So we provide them with this tool to grade it at least 10 times cheaper than it was before. So that's something amazing that we found out during the work, in this industry, and being very, very close with our clients and tracking how things are going on the projects. We figured that even the most experienced grading contractors, they plan their grading operations manually by taking several inputs. And then, so they usually take the original topo as an input, they take the design grade as an input, some, project restrictions, and then they have the most experienced estimator or, operations person looking at those things and running the grading strategy, how specifically you would move these cuts into those fields in the most efficient way, what types of equipment would you need, how much equipment you would need, and what would be your ultimate cost as a grading contractor to move it, right?
Right.
And so we figured that even if it's a very experienced person, he would only be able to mix and match several options of this strategy. And of course, he would choose the most reasonable ones and, proceed with the most reasonable ones. But as a human, he would only be able to try this many options, right? But if we empower the person with algorithms, with technology that can do enormous amount of different optimizations, then our assumption that we will find pretty significant impact in finding the best sequence and the best, network of roads, like whole roads, how to move specific cut into specific fields on the projects to make it faster and cheaper and more efficient. And it looks like we proved it right. So we already tested it on several projects with our partners. So the product basically looks like you input your original topo, you input your design and some restrictions. And just in several minutes, it will give you the overview of your grading strategy, which is the split into regions where you have to fill and where you have to cut, and the network of the most efficient whole roads, given the equipment types and number that you have. And then it will calculate you the overall grading time and machinery utilization per each piece of equipment. And we found that it can be better, faster than the estimations that are done by human by at least 10%. So we found on several projects that it's at least 10% less time of scrapers, at least 17% less time in compactors. If you look at different budgets of grading, it varies on different projects, of course, and it could be several $1 million or it could be $700 million, right? And so if you just take 10% out of it and make it cheaper by 10%, you may end up saving like $1 million on the project, right? So as the owner of the project, you will get a cheaper lot in the end of the day. As the contractor, you will be able to reduce your internal costs and grade cheaper. Moreover, since the technology really speeds up the process of estimation by like 50%. So, for example, the estimator would come up with this grading strategy manually within a couple of days, maybe even a week. But the technology enables you to do that just within a couple of minutes, right? So as a contractor, you may take part in more bids, right? And you can bid more aggressively and win the competition with a more competitive price.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I believe you had mentioned something about a demo to me prior to us starting. Is this something that you can share with us?
this would be an example. And again, as I mentioned, it's still in the testing phase, but overall, it would give you an idea what it looks like. So the thing is that you as a user just input the original ground into the product, the design grade, and you input how many and what type of equipment you have. For example, 8 units of this type of scraper or this many units of compactors, right? You input various restrictions that you have. And then I already pre-calculated this for the qual, but basically within just seconds, it would provide you with the cut fill map of the overall project where, it's a very classic thing that red color represents the cut zones, blue represents the fill zones. Basically, you need to move the dirt from the red areas into blue areas in the most efficient and cheap ways. And so what the algorithm does, I just selected only one phase of the project to generate the strategy. It calculates the overall quantities that you have to move on the project and gives you all the totals in hours and days. How many hours of scrapers do you need to execute on this strategy? How many hours of compactors do you need, et cetera, and you will get the actual visualization of this grading strategy on the map. So you will see the regions, the most efficient regions to move the dirt. They are numbered here. And you would see the most efficient haul roads to move this dirt. And the sequence, we call it the moves, right? So if you, for example, consider the moves of the dirt to this fill zone number 9, you will see that the dirt would be moved from 2 zones, from 3 and 2 into this zone number 9. And per each move, you will see, okay, how much dirt you will be moving, what number of equipment you will have, and all the productivity numbers that each foreman would need in order to, allocate the equipment and know how much time and equipment will be utilized for this or the other area. So now you don't have to guess, okay, what would be my cost and what would be my budget. You know the duration of the project, you know how specifically your equipment will be utilized. And of course, the product has several options to modify things like, for example, editing the crews, the types of equipment, or editing the inputs of the project. For example, how the soil will behave, will it bulk or shrink? And the product would recalculate the strategy based on that.
So how difficult would it be to implement something like this into your operations? I think that one of the, as you mentioned earlier, a lot of contractors tend to be somewhat technology averse. And so I'm just curious, is this something that's going to be difficult for them to start utilizing?
This specific product, it's not yet adopted in terms of UI to specific personas, right? For a grading contractor, foreman, or totally different persona, grading contractor, estimator, or a third persona, land development manager, right? Like all those 3 personas would need different UI in order to use this technology. And so right now, while it's in testing, we kind of have some sort of general UI for everyone, but it, of course, would be adopted. But answering your question, it is with the core product that we are providing right now, we have been always using the same philosophy to build it, which is consider the main workflow of the persona that you have in mind. Consider all the restrictions that he has in the reality. For example, he is standing right in the middle of the site work. It's sunny, it's dusty, and he has only like 3 seconds to get the number because then he has to rush, to a specific area and, rearrange the movement of the scrapers, right? Something like that. So the UI has always to be, relative to these circumstances. And our core product, TraceAir Office app, it is designed in this way. And I mean, foremen and superintendents of grading contractors have been adopting it fairly quickly, and we're giving really great feedback to us saying that, well, it's very intuitive, right? Like you just make a couple of clicks and get the number you expect to get, right? You don't need to run very, very comprehensive measurements and you don't need a very, very complex machine for that. You just, open your cell phone and get your number. So the adoption of the product, of our main product, TraceAir Office app, is pretty great. So we are having around about 50% of all our monthly users, right? So the ones who occasionally log in and click around the platform, 50% of those users would be weekly users, right? So the ones who weekly log in and use it to plan their works, and 50% of those would log in daily. So and the majority of them are field personnel. So they kind of already figured it out how to do that.
Okay, well, great. Is there anything else that you'd like to share us or show us on the demo here?
Well, I think that's the best high-level overview.
Okay. Great. So maybe we can close out of that and continue the conversation. You're in the testing phase, obviously, with GradeIt right now. Is there any time frame at this point for introduction of this particular feature, or is that still a little too soon to say?
It's kind of too soon to say because we, as a startup, we always try to make, some sort of one step at a time. So right now we are on the stage where we need this first proof from the market of how specifically this product may land to the needs of the market, right? So we are testing it out on different projects. Our next closest plan is to work through several construction projects from the beginning to the end to actually measure the progress of the actual grading and see how it ends up following these strategies, right? So we are really determined to see the whole cycle and see what impact it brings. And after that, kind of make sure, okay, now we are so sure we have the proof points, right? That it really works and it's so helpful. So we are ready to scale it up. So right now we are mainly looking for partners who are ready to test it out on their projects with our technology. And only after that, I think we will start to massively offer it to the market.
Well, it sounds like it definitely has some great opportunities for those that are in the grading and earth-moving realm. So I think that everybody's going to be anxious to see this come to fruition. But at this point, we say stay tuned, but it probably sounds like it's not going to be in the too distant future that this is going to be available. In terms of the overall scope of what GradeIt and TraceAir in general has to offer, what do you think that there are in terms of the opportunity for contractors when they're looking at, okay, if I'm going to make an investment in TraceAir, what is going to be that return that I get from this? How can I justify both the investment, not only in cost, but in time to be able to get this up to speed and implemented in my projects? Mm-hmm. What do you see there as the ROI for those that are willing to take that chance?
Basically, it's absolutely the same value proposition as the core of GradeIt has. So as a grading contractor, you will be grading cheaper. Probably you would need less personnel, super experienced personnel in place, because now your most experienced people and their expertise is being shared across all of your projects because now it's remote, right? And your most experienced foreman that works on only one project can help out all the other foremen on the other projects with these strategies that are coming in, right? You're getting your costs down, you are bidding faster and more aggressively, so you can win competition on the projects that you are interested in. Definitely not the last thing, a very important one, is this radical transparency that is brought up to the project team, including the owner. And this is the reason why we, like the majority of our clients right now, are not only grading contractors, the majority of them are owners, right? Because when there is this radical transparency for all the project members, and it's absolutely clear what is going on, what is the plan, this is how the plan looks like, very easy, right? So, and it's easy not only for people involved in construction, but also for the people who finance this construction, right? There are a lot of stakeholders that make their investments in the project. They do not really know, and they do not really want to go deep into the roots of actual progress of construction. They just want to know, okay, how is it going, right? How my investment is going. So TraceAir brings this radical transparency to the whole thing, and we believe that's really the key, pretty big ROI for the owner as well, because basically when you start avoiding the mistakes and rework, you start to hit your schedule, which means for the owner, sometimes the costs are not even that important for the owners as the schedule and time, right? Because every day of delay costs a lot of, investment money, the cost of money for the owner, right? For each and every day of delay, they're paying some interest rate. So the ROI for the owner sometimes end up being even significantly more than a grading contractor. The ROI is always about cost. You just avoid rework, you avoid mistakes because you see what is happening, and you avoid delays. That's basically the answer.
That makes perfect sense. And I think that lots of people will be very interested to hear about the potential to save on that cost and ensure that they get the ROI from any type of technology investment. But it sounds like there's a lot of opportunities that are offered through the TraceAir platform. So I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, Maria. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about TraceAir and the opportunities with this platform that are available to both contractors and project owners?
Right now, we are really, really interested in the response of the market to this new technology, GradeIt, right? So, someone is having an upcoming large or at least complicated, or maybe not even complicated, but just, the project that you would be interested to test out, we are more than happy to now test it out with you. So it's right now on this stage where we are not chasing for, scaling the product. So it would be sort of a mutual development kind of thing.
Right.
So we would appreciate, inputs like that.
That sounds great. And if they want to learn more, how would they be able to find that information?
I think the easiest way is just to reach us out through our website I think the website is the shortcut.
Okay, sounds good. And we can certainly share that website information here in this video program. Again, thank you so much, Maria. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And I think that this has been some really fascinating information about the company and about what types of new things that you're looking to introduce to the market. So it sounds like lots more fun things to come.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.